A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Random House Audio presents Star Wars Jedi Trial by David Sherman and Dan Cragg. Read for you by Jonathan Davis. Obi-Wan! Anakin Skywalker exclaimed, when the holographic image of Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi appeared before him. Anakin had been pacing in his quarters, brooding over why he was consistently being passed by for his Jedi trials. The chance to prove he was a full Jedi Knight.
Anakin, how are you settling in?
Anakin shrugged. All right, I guess. Obi-Wan's smile dimmed. They had returned to Coruscant only 2 standard days earlier, but he was fully aware of how long 2 days without action could seem to Anakin. He knew his Padawan would not be pleased by the news he was about to break.
I just returned to my quarters from a meeting with the Jedi Council. I have an assignment which...
Already? Anakin interrupted, excited. I've barely begun to unpack. I can meet you at the spaceport in an hour.
I have a mission, Anakin, not us. The Jedi Council is sending me alone. It's an individual assignment, a quick in and out.
Anakin was clearly trying not to frown. What am I supposed to do in the meantime?
You'll be debriefed on our last mission, for one thing. I'm trusting that to you. When I get back, I'll suggest to the Council that you're ready to begin your trials. I've got confidence in you, Anakin. You know that.
Yes. Anakin's expression softened. I know you do, Obi-Wan. May the Force be with you. 3 days later, Anakin Skywalker flipped his datapad off. He'd spent the time since Obi-Wan had left in the library, studying the campaigns and battles of the Clone Wars. He headed for the training area. Maybe he could find someone to spar with, to balance his inactivity. The war was a severe drain on the Jedi resources, and nearly every physically able Jedi was away from Coruscant on a mission or campaign. Anakin found only one Jedi in the training area, Najah Halcyon, drilling with his lightsaber. Anakin had met Halcyon once before and found him to be not only intelligent and witty, but also a tactically sound Jedi. Obi-Wan had assured him his impression was accurate, and yet Master Halcyon had been living in a state of semi-disgrace after losing his ship, Pluriad Bodkin, to a rogue ship's captain he'd been sent to apprehend. Moving with total focus and concentration, Halcyon was a pleasure to watch. Loath to interrupt him, Anakin remained on the side, waiting for him to pause. At last, Halcyon thumbed his lightsaber off and stood erect. He glanced over at Anakin and grinned. Anakin Skywalker, looking for a sparring partner? Anakin started briefly. You honor me. Halcyon gestured an invitation, and Anakin entered the sparring circle. They faced each other and saluted, then took position and thumbed their lightsabers to life. Anakin made the first move, a thrust that started high before plunging downward to dip under an anticipated high parry. The blades of the lightsaber sizzled as Halcyon easily deflected the thrust, laughing when he danced aside. You surprise me, Halcyon said mock-seriously. That's such a basic move. I'd have thought you'd have some new ones from being in combat. He launched a flurry of thrusts and slices of his own. Anakin easily parried or deflected all of them. Master Halcyon, Anakin said when they stepped back. In a fight, one seldom has time to invent new maneuvers. The tried-and-true movements are usually the most effective. He reached out with his lightsaber to touch Halcyon's, then spun the tip of the blade in an unorthodox backhand that would have cut through Halcyon's left shoulder had he not stopped short, and had Halcyon failed to fall back out of the way in time. Very good, Padawan. Halcyon nodded with approval. That was so close, I'm not sure whether or not it counts as a touch. Anakin grinned. You don't have time to invent in a fight, but sometimes you can improvise. Then they settled into serious sparring. After an hour, they stopped by unspoken mutual agreement. Both gleamed with sweat. Both were laughing.
"Ah, yes,"
Halcyon said happily.
"A sparring partner makes the workouts much, much better."
He eyed Anakin.
"Shall we do it again tomorrow?"
"Sounds great."
"Same time, same place."
"With pleasure." There was no word from General Kamar. Ice-cold prickles of fear shot up the back of Raja Momin's arms to her scalp and then down her spine. Everyone else was looking to her to remain calm. So she'd come out into the garden early, to relax, to gather her thoughts and compose herself before meeting with her staff. But it wasn't working. Eyes closed, Raja tried thinking of home. In 5 more years, her contract would be up and she would head back to Alderaan. Maybe. A breeze wafted in through the dome. It carried with it the aroma of the native grasses that grew in such profusion on the mesa, where the intergalactic communications center was located. Raja Momin had accepted the job as chief administrator of the intergalactic communications center on Praesitlyn because she liked the work. The handsome salary counted only as a nice bonus. She worked hard and well, because she enjoyed work as an end in itself, and she treated the people under her more as partners in a joint enterprise than as subordinates. And unlike so many busy bureaucrats consumed by their sense of self-importance, she knew when and how to relax. She opened her eyes and sighed. Relaxation was out of the question. Members of her staff were already filtering into the garden and finding places to sit. Not to enjoy the informal midday luncheon that had become a tradition in the year she had been chief administrator, but to get the news, to get their orders. Raja felt a brief flash of anger that her routine was being interrupted. Today, everyone spoke in worried whispers, all ears for any news from the south. What could she tell them? Not knowing what was going on there was worse than bad news. Several standard hours earlier, an invasion fleet had landed approximately 150 kilometers to the southwest of the center.
"Mistress,"
General Kamar had said in his last report.
2 of our starfighters on a routine patrol over the ocean just off the coast have engaged a large number of hostile craft. The airborne control ship that was monitoring the patrol has been shot down, but before we lost contact with it, the crew reported a large droid army landing. The invaders don't appear to be as numerous as my own command, but they may be just an advance party preparing a foothold for a larger force. Either way, we have to destroy them without delay. I'm taking my main force overland to attack them."
How big is their fleet? She had asked.
"Several transports and capital ships, nothing we can't handle. Should we need reinforcements, which I doubt, Sluis Van will supply them."
Wouldn't it be prudent to call for them now, just in case?
Kamar grunted. "We shall if we need to, but it wouldn't be good tactics to call for reinforcements before we know the extent of the enemy threat. I leave a detachment here under Commander Lanmore to provide security for the center."
But for the past hour, she had received no word from General Kamar. If this was an all-out attempt by the Separatists to seize the communication center, her comfortable little world on Praesitlyn was coming to an end. The solar dome that roofed the garden slammed shut without warning. There was a bright flash and a deafening roar. Heart in her throat, Raja jumped to her feet and ran back inside the main control room. Slith Scale, the Sluicy chief of the communications staff, appeared beside her. She had never seen the methodical creature move so quickly or look so worried. "Is Kamar returning?" Raja asked hesitantly.
"No, mistress,"
Slith answered.
"It is strangers."
He swayed nervously.
"I believe it is another invasion force. I ordered the dome closed when the first ship landed. I beg your forgiveness if you were startled. What are your orders?"
The control room was in chaos. Technicians babbled among themselves, working their instruments frantically. A deep-throated roar rumbled through the facility. She could feel the vibrations in the floor panels. "A large number of ships are landing below the mesa," a technician said with an edge to his voice that told Raja he was on the verge of panic. "Quiet, everybody! Listen to me. She called loudly and firmly.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?